Hi, everybody. I'm Carla Bonnet of Women's Networking Alliance. I am the president and co-owner along with Tracy Lee Davis. And we are here to discuss nutrition and wellness during this time at home. So I'm going to ask that each of our speakers go ahead and introduce yourselves. And we're going to start with Ayana.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ayana, and I'm your habit change weight loss coach.
Okay, Ellen.
Hi there, I'm Ellen Lovelace. I own a Balance Table Nutritional Therapy, and I work virtually with clients all over the world, helping them dig down to the roots of what's gone wrong in their bodies and figure out how to optimize their wellness and learn the best way to eat, drink, and thrive.
Thank you so much. Deb. Oh, you're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm Deb of Deb G Health, and I am a holistic health and nutrition coach, primarily focusing on stressors in everyday life and how to sort of get those out of the way so that we can take best care of ourselves.
Fantastic. Thank you. Jenny, if you'd unmute yourself.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jenny Walker, and I am a family practice specialty, which means I have a fellowship in pediatrics and take care of a lot of the little ones at InHealth Clinic.
Thank you so much. So this is going to be, oh, Ayana, yes.
Sorry, I was a little nervous. May I add a little bit more?
Yes.
So I am a habit change and weight loss coach, and my business is called Thrive and Be Whole, and I help women who are feeling stuck with their weight loss and healthy habits get unstuck so they can live a more joyful and empowered and thriving life.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. So this is going to be a question and answer style panel. And I'm going to kick it off with a question to each of our experts. And then, like I said, you can type in the chat box if you have any questions, and we will move on from there. So Ellen, the first question is going to you. We know that sleep is so essential, yet so many people are struggling to get good sleep these days. Can you talk about why that might be and what people might be able to do to improve their sleep?
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I think even if you're somebody who didn't have sleep issues before what's going on these days, you might be having sleep issues now. And there's a lot to talk about here in terms of why it's important for all of us to be making sure that we're sleeping right now, what might be behind some of that. Really now, I think more than ever, sleep is such a critical issue because sleep plays such an incredibly powerful role in supporting healthy immune system function. And, you know, at some level, we're all sort of in a fight for our lives these days. So your immune system is critical. Sleep really is your body's first line of defense against infectious disease. There's a very interesting process that happens when you're sleeping, which is that your body produces some proteins that are called cytokines. And these cytokines are meant to fight inflammation and infection in your body, so that when you're exposed to something like an infectious pathogen, your body can increase production of these cytokines to offset illness. The issue with sleep is that sleep deprivation actually hinders this immune response. So not getting enough sleep or not getting good enough quality sleep is going to impact your body's ability to actually be able to naturally fight off infections. And what we know is that both the quantity and the quality of the sleep matter deeply. You know, there's a lot of people out there who say they function great on 6 hours of sleep, and that's really not enough. We are a chronically sleep-deprived world, and 7 hours is really thought to be the minimum. There are a lot of people who function best on 8 to 9 hours of sleep, and so really making sure that you're maximizing the amount of time as well as the quality of your sleep is really important. I work a lot with people who have complaints about their sleep, and really the most common reason that I see people have trouble both falling asleep and staying asleep, which can be two different issues, is blood sugar dysregulation. Having imbalanced blood sugar really leads to a whole hormone cascade in your body that starts to fuel sleep issues and interrupt the natural rhythms that allow us to sleep at night. For most people, you know, eating a diet that contains sugar and refined white grains, lots of processed foods that are full of colors and chemicals, drinking alcohol, and not including enough protein and healthy fats in their diet that helps keep blood sugar stable, these are the big culprits. This is what I see day in and day out. So the number one intervention that I'm able to do with clients that really fixes sleep issues is getting them off the blood sugar roller coaster. and learning to eat in a way that can keep their blood sugar and their energy stable. And I'm sure we'll talk a lot more about food today, but some of the really key things are, I see a lot of people not eating enough protein, clean quality protein, things like wild fish, pasture-raised chicken and eggs, grass-fed beef, lamb, things like that. So incredibly important. And along with that, so many people are eating a fat deficient diet, really striving to have 1 or 2 tablespoons of good healthy fat at every meal, things like avocado and nuts and seeds and grass-fed butter, coconut oil, olive oil. These things are critical. The fats also that you eat contribute to your immune response as well and allow your body to fight inflammation. So important, and also help stabilize your blood sugar. If you focus on those things, along with getting lots of good veggies, 2 to 3 cups of vegetables at every meal, it becomes a lot easier to avoid the stuff that maybe you shouldn't be eating so much of, because you're going to be spending a good amount of time focusing on getting all that good stuff into you. So that's really, I think, the number one intervention for sleep is blood sugar. The other big intervention for sleep is a whole series of things, which is the idea of sleep hygiene. Which is really a very simple and achievable way for a lot of people to improve the quality of their sleep. There are behaviors that people are potentially doing during the day that affect their sleep patterns and that can be adjusted to help them sleep better. So some of these positive changes can really make a big difference. One of the ones that I see a lot is people who don't have a consistent sleep schedule. You should be going to bed and waking up around the same time 7 days a week. Maybe on the weekends you're in bed an hour later or so, but really widely varying or wildly varying your schedule from where you were perhaps when you were commuting or when you had a little more structure in your life is not going to be conducive for getting good sleep at all. Other things I see people do at night that are really not helpful for sleep, strenuous exercise at night. If you're somebody who exercises in the evening, that's going to keep your heart rate elevated at night, which is going to not allow for really good, deep, restful sleep. Caffeine, I think most people know that, staying away from caffeine after lunch is very important. Heavy dinners are another one. Actually eating a lot at night also raises your body temperature and interferes with sleep, and digestion is something that we don't want to be trying to do while we're trying to sleep really well. And alcohol, again, it may feel like it helps you fall asleep, but it is not going to help you stay asleep. It's going to make things much worse down the line. Having an evening wind down routine, super important. Don't watch the news at night. The news in the morning is going to be exactly the same as the news at night. And watching the news at night is just going to, build your anxiety, build your stress, not help you sleep. You want to really get away from all of your screens 1 to 2 hours before you're going to go to bed. So get off your phone, your iPad, your computer. Those things all emit blue light that affect your brain and stimulate it and keep you from being able to fall asleep. Maybe spend that hour before you go to bed doing things like taking a warm Epsom salt bath. Epsom salts are a form of magnesium that's absorbable, really helps with stress reduction and sleep. Maybe do some gentle stretching, read something printed on paper. These are the types of things that you want to be doing at night. There are great blue blocker glasses out there that you can use to help keep those blue lights out of your eyes in the later part of the day. And there's even some glasses that are called twilight glasses, which are really great for the last hour or so before you want to go to bed. People can go to truedark.com. That's a great resource to take a look at some of those types of glasses. Last couple things I would say, don't have your phone in your bedroom. You're going to get pings and notifications and it's going to light up. And if you're not sleeping, you're going to be tempted to look at it. Spend a few bucks and get an alarm clock and put your phone in another room. And there are some things that can be helpful for people who are having trouble falling asleep. Essential oils like lavender, I actually put a little on my neck every night as I'm trying to fall asleep. Find it very helpful, restful, soothing. Magnesium, again, particularly a form of magnesium called magnesium glycinate, can be very, very helpful for sleep, as can an amino acid called taurine, which is really great sometimes for kind of turning off your brain and helping you fall asleep. So the last thing that I just want to say about sleep is that a lot of people are telling me that they're noticing that even though maybe they're sleeping longer, they're more tired than usual, and they're not really sure why that is. And it's important to realize that we're all just in a constant state of fight or flight right now. Your adrenaline is pumping, your cortisone is up, and that's not going to help you relax and sleep well. So it's okay to take a nap, even if you've never been a napper before. If napping feels good to you these days, that's okay. give yourself the permission to take care of yourself, to rest, let your body be at peace as much as you possibly can. That's really important right now to help us kind of combat all of the stress that we're dealing with. So those are my top tips.
Thank you so much, Ellen. That was amazing. Okay, Jenny, we're going to ask you the next question. What is the fact or facts about this virus, COVID-19, and what should our health goals be during this pandemic?
I'm glad you asked that, because I come from a farming background where common sense is just part of how we live our lives. And I think it's really important to look at the facts about this virus and what are the realities. Right now, the shelter in place is largely done to protect our community at large, and that's why we're all participating in it. And I think we need to realize that we are likely to all be exposed at some point. And what is our goal surrounding COVID-19? Because obviously we won't be staying home forever. Society wouldn't continue to function if that were true. So I want to talk a little bit about the virus itself. It is a very cool virus if you're looking at it strictly from just a study of virology. Of course, its awesome factors make it even more contagious. The COVID-19 is a coronavirus, which in Latin means crown, and they named these viruses for the sticky little spikes that come out all over these viruses. There are many types of coronaviruses, and the actual name of COVID-19 is SARS-CoV-2. This particular virus has spikes just like any coronavirus. However, its little proteins that it has to enact with our cells are notably stickier in the research that's coming out. And of course, this is research boots on the ground done immediately. So don't hold me to this, because this research is evolving. These little sticky spikes attach to something called ACE2 on our cells, which then allows them to unlock and get into our cells. Once a virus and COVID-19 is in our cells, it takes over the machinery. It basically takes over the factory and turns our cells into little virus-making machines. Now, here's the fact about COVID that makes it important. COVID is stickier, which means it's more contagious than past coronaviruses. The second thing is when we get exposed to the virus, and we all will at some point, our goal is to reduce the quantity of that exposure so that our immune system, through rest, proper hydration, immune support, can actually fight off the virus in a normal way, like it normally does when we get ill. The thing that makes this virus a little extra scary is when it goes into our body, something called furin, spelled F-U-R-I-N. It's an enzyme that naturally occurs in our body, and it's meant to turn on and turn off certain genes. It splits enzymes. It's an enzyme. This enzyme, which is found throughout our body, both in the upper respiratory tract and the lower respiratory tract, splits the virus, which means now we have double the amount of virus that we were exposed to. And this comes into the fact about gloves and masks. There's been huge controversy over whether I wear the gloves, wear the mask, don't. Masks are, in a lot of ways, and even if you don't have an N95, will reduce the contamination of particles that goes into your body. So that is the helpful portion of a mask. The second thing it does is it's a physical barrier that reminds you not to touch your face if you're out at the grocery store or in public. Because as humans, we are very touchy creatures, and we like to touch things. And a lot of us regularly touch our face. I have found that to be very true. It happens to be one of my hobbies, I'm realizing. So the mask, actually, when I'm out or when I'm working with patients in the clinic, it physically stops me, because when I go to think about even touching my face, a mask is there. So a mask is helpful in those two aspects. It will reduce the quantity of the virus you're exposed to, allowing your body to actually win the fight, and it will prevent you from touching it, so you may not actually be exposed in that quantity. Gloves, on the other hand, are kind of a catch-22. Gloves are helpful in reducing the quantity that you've been given. However, if you don't own enough gloves to be changing them out regularly, you may not be helping yourself, because you actually are going to increase the quantity you're being exposed to by using the same over and over again. If you are washing the gloves, or you have a UV, which are very popular, you can get them on Amazon. They're very affordable. You can reuse those gloves, or even the masks that people are making in our office. We've been blessed by many patients to bring masks to us. In between uses of patients, we UV them to kill the virus that way. But washing your hands is actually a better solution if you do not have extra gloves at hand. But I do like the masks because they prevent the quantity from touching your face. So in terms of long-term health, I think we should dispel the fear about getting the virus. The virus will probably join the mainstay of viruses that go around in our cold and flu seasons, as other viruses do. This virus, unlike our traditional viruses, because of the furon and the fact it splits and we have furon in our lower respiratory and upper respiratory tract infection, it actually gives the patient a lower and an upper respiratory tract infection, which makes it wildly more unpleasant than other colds and flus we get in the previous time. So, but to dispel the fear, some of the main immune boosting things which are going around on social media, on the news that I want to highlight I want to give my thumbs up to are zinc. The form of zinc is picolinate. We like it. There are some other ones. I love the zinc chelates because you get several different kinds of zincs all in one. Those are really fantastic. But the form that I recommend everyone to get is the lozenge form. This can be taken for children. This can be taken for adults. The reason we like the lozenge form is when you suck on it and after you've sucked on it, try not to eat or drink for 15 minutes so that the zinc stays in your throat, which is where a lot of the infections occur for the cold and flu and COVID-19. Zinc actually kills viruses on contact, whether it is COVID or just our traditional ones that we get on our H1N1 type viruses. So let it soak in your mouth. One key factor is zinc will make a lot of people nauseous if they do it on an empty stomach. So make sure you're doing this after a meal that has a good amount of protein. This will get your protein in, which is good for your sleep. This will also help you not get nauseous from zinc. Most lozenges are 23 milligrams. This is a fine dose for adults as well as children. If we are doing a maintenance dose, means you're wanting to take zinc daily because you're trying to reduce your exposure and boost your immune system, you need to chop these lozenges in half because we don't want to be taking 23 milligrams a day. If you were to be exposed to a virus, and by the way, there is another cold and flu going around that is not COVID-19, you'll know the difference because of all the nasal symptoms. If you were to get sick, you would take 23 milligrams every 2 hours. While you're awake. Do not wake up in the middle of the night to give yourself dosages. Just do it while you're awake. This is only while an individual is sick to be taking this much zinc. The other one that's been talked a lot about prevention of the COVID specifically is something called N-acetylcysteine, or NAC. Carla will be leaving you with some links from Dr. Youngberg. He talks more specifically about this. You'll be doing 1,200 milligrams a day. They come in 600 milligram capsules. You would swallow 2 a day. For children, you can open them up and put them in applesauce. They most of the time will not notice unless you have a really, really sensitive taster that's probably going to be a chef someday. You'll be able to hide this in that. The NAC, it turns into glutathione, which is one of our most awesome antioxidants. It also nourishes the respiratory tract, so it can actually reduce mortality if you were to be someone who did contract COVID-19 or you know of someone that does contract COVID-19. I like these 2 remedies because they're easily accessible at most drugstores. If you have trouble finding them, you can contact our office. We can help you find them, and they are back in stock. They were out of stock for a brief moment. My last tip, this is also under Dr. Youngberg's, is to use something called iodine forte. This is a liquid iodine that is in water. It's 150 micrograms. You can put a few drops in water in like a little squirt bottle that you'd find in the travel section of like your drugstore. You can spritz your face, hands, and even keep your mouth open just a little bit, the mucous membranes. And this is great to have in your car after you've had to make that grocery run because it will kill the virus on contact. Iodine is a naturally occurring element and it is ionized, which means it has an electrical charge. So viruses and bacteria don't become resistant to them like our antibiotics. So this is something you can, put in your tool bag and use long after COVID has gone away.
Thank you so much. That was an incredible amount of information that I'm really glad that we're going to be getting the video afterwards because that's going to have to be rewatched. Okay, I'd like to move on to Deb. Your first question is, it's a challenge each day at home to stick to healthy eating, which I know is best for myself and my family. Do you have any suggestions?
Yeah, that's great. Doesn't mean, I think it's one of those things that when we're at home, I'm finding that that's sort of one of the things that people are like, okay, I really want to stick to this because I know I'll feel better. So one of the things that really does help the most is really, like everything right now, sticking to a schedule, including an eating schedule. And that's one, and I'll kind of loop back to that. Secondly, make sure you're hydrated. Hydration, we tend to, I think when we're out in our lives coming and going and coming and going, a lot of times we keep that hydration up, but I don't know about being at home. Somehow it's kind of like, oh, did I have any water today? So hydration is another piece. And obviously a really big piece is something that Elena talked about is sleep, right? And that Ellen already spoke about was all those sleep. So if we have our sleep dialed in, it's going to help us with better choices through the day. And too much caffeine is going to also kind of do some of the things that potentially cause cravings for sugar as well. And so going all the way back to establishing an eating schedule. One thing is that when we have a regular eating schedule, just like a sleep schedule, this will keep us from wanting to constantly go look for something, needing something, right? And one method that I work with a lot of people on is intermittent fasting, because it's a forced schedule. Does it work for everybody? Not necessarily, but it might be something to consider if you're feeling a sense of no control over your eating schedule, that you're just grabbing and going throughout the day, in and out of looking in the cupboard, looking in the refrigerator. So that's really key. And sort of planning out exactly what you're going to eat. I think what's happened during this time is that we're finding that we're just home, so we'll eat whenever and we'll eat whatever. But it's really helpful to say, okay, I'm going to eat my first meal at 9 a.m. and I'm going to have consistently same thing. You've just heard both the other panel speakers talk about is protein, vegetables, and fat. And you can include that in every single meal, including your first meal of the day, whether you eat eggs or not, but some kind of really healthy, good protein, adding some vegetables in, and also always good, healthy fats. And I mean, I'm a big fan of avocados, but a lot of people are like, okay, I'm avocadoed out already, but there's a multitude of different ways to get those through even just a little bit of olive oil, things like that. So I would say that planning your eating schedule and making sure you incorporate protein, carbohydrates, and fats. And when I'm talking about carbohydrates, I'm talking about vegetables, I should say. Protein, vegetable sources, some fruits that might not spike up your blood sugar, because that's a lot of times what's also happening is if our blood sugar is going up and down, we have those insatiable cravings, and those are based on hormones. That's not true hunger. And that's back to that blood sugar regulation that Ellen was also speaking about. So eating on a schedule, kind of knowing what you're going to have at each of those meals, and sticking to the things that are going to fuel you and give you a positive energy throughout the day. Hydration, key aspect. And then eating sitting down, right? Eat in a relaxed state. Know that you're going to have that meal in a relaxed state. Same thing. You want to try to avoid eating and going and walking around the house. I'm very guilty of doing that for certain. And, kind of ask yourselves, do you find that you are being not as healthy of an eater as you might have been before all of this? And kind of ask yourself that question and see what that's more about, and just see if you can go back to that more nourishing way of eating and fueling yourself. Cravings, once again, I'm going to just reiterate that. So cravings are really a sign from the brain that is not real hunger. And that has to do with a multitude of hormones, which can be cortisol, insulin, and then 2 other hormones that regulate whether we're hungry or full. And once again, if you're eating a lot up and down during the day, or if you're eating more things that are simple carbohydrates, you're going to have more of those cravings for things that aren't going to nourish you. So that's why it's really important to get back to proper hydration, eating on a schedule, and it is a really good tool. Intermittent fasting is a great tool for that because it forces you to start eating in a very specific eating window, and eat without any distractions if possible. And I know for a lot of people with little people around, it's not that simple, but maybe, make it everybody's mealtime. So I hope that was helpful.
Very much. Thank you. So we've heard about sleep. We've heard about the virus and some of the things we can do for our immune system. And we've talked about food. So Ayana, your question kind of brings all of that together. What do you think are the top things that are sabotaging people's ability to take care of themselves right now? And you're muted.
All right, there we go. Hi, everyone. So first of all, I'm really, really excited that we're doing this. And thank you to WNA for providing this space because this is so important. And thank you, for everyone who showed up because you guys are showing how important this issue is for you and everyone who's watching this on replay. I love this question because, as I said before, I'm a habit change and health coach. So a big part of what I do is, I work with my clients on nutrition and also their exercise habits, but a huge part of our work together is habit change and what it is that gets in the way of them being, of them taking action or them being able to take care of themselves. And so this is a topic that I'm obsessed with. As a teacher, someone who taught in classrooms for a really long time, I've become obsessed with how it is that people learn and what it is that best inspires that and what it is that also saps our motivation. Okay. So when it comes to this, we're all dealing with, in this Corona situation that we're in, this is a real chaotic and unprecedented time. And we're all dealing with issues that we weren't necessarily dealing with before, being stuck in the house. If you have a lot of people in your house, you might be feeling like, oh my goodness, I really need my space back. If you have no people in your house, you might be feeling really isolated and kind of alone and apart. If you have little people like I do, I heard little people get shouted out a couple of times. I have a 5 and a 3-year-old in the house with me. You might be running a little crazy from time to time. There's a lot of different issues going on. You might be impacted financially, with your business. My business, I had someone sign up for coaching with me and then immediately she lost her job like the next day. I lost a couple of hours at the school that I was supporting with the health and wellness stuff. So we've all been impacted, right? And the key thing though, is that, while all of this craziness is going on, we also have to kind of ask ourselves what is under the hood that might be preventing us from taking care of ourselves in the way we want to. All of our wonderful experts up here just gave us amazing advice, but what is it that might be missing from us actually taking action on a health goal or taking action on all of these self-care things? And one of the things that I would say that comes up over and over again for clients and in my own life is that sometimes it is our self-talk, our negative self-talk that is getting in the way and impeding us from taking action and making progress. So, sometimes, I don't know if, I can't remember who had this quote, but there's a great quote that talks about the distinction between pain and suffering. Pain is an inevitable part of life. We're all going to go through things that are challenging and difficult. But where it becomes suffering is when we have our own negative self-talk that gets in the way. So for example, when I lost hours with the school that I was supporting, that was a really hard blow, and it's a financial blow to our family. That if negative self-talk comes in there, I could say, well, I'm doomed. This is just going to be the way that it is forever. I'm never going to find another opportunity again. And actually, as someone who went through anxiety before, that's the way that I used to approach things. But we can stop it from turning into suffering by checking ourselves on the messages that we're sending ourselves right now and on working to be as positive as possible so that we can be resilient, and then we can take empowered action when we're ready. Okay. So when we're working on our mindset, that's really the $1 million secret. And I tell you from classrooms that I've taught in to all the clients that I've coached, all of the, you know, like both the health coaching and life coaching certifications that I've gotten, this is really the issue that either helps people move forward or not. So you can ask yourself, you know, are you someone who is dealing with perfectionism? I call myself a perfectionist in recovery. Okay. a PIR, if you will. Okay. So many of us struggle with that. Do you have unrealistic expectations for yourself and for your business during this time? Do you have unrealistic expectations of what you should be doing in a day? Okay. Are you having anxious thoughts where you're just kind of assuming the worst in every situation? You know, when a challenge comes up, you kind of get to catastrophic thinking where you're assuming the absolute worst. Are you beating yourself up? You know, so if you make a mistake or if you don't get something done, are you constantly flogging yourself for it? Okay. And actually, I wanted to read this great quote by Brene Brown, which I hope you all are acquainted with. If you don't know who she is, she was a shame researcher. Now she's just kind of like a wellness guru. I don't know if she's still a shame researcher, but I find her research on shame to be fascinating and so illuminating. And she had this fabulous quote that said, "Perfectionism is a 20-ton shield that we lug around thinking it will protect us, when in fact, it's the thing that's really preventing us from taking flight." I love that. And then also too, when she talks about shame, you know, she did all of this research on shame and saw like just how damaging it is to everything that we want to do. She said, when we experience shame, we feel disconnected and desperate for worthiness. Full of shame or the fear of shame, we are more likely to engage in self-destructive behaviors and to attack or shame others. And in fact, shame is related to violence, aggression, depression, addiction, eating disorders, and bullying. So you can see where all of this, you know, plays a big role in the health coaching practice that I've set up with my clients. Okay. It's powerful work. So working on that is going to be really important. And a lot of my health coaching clients right now come to me because they're struggling with beating themselves up, you know, struggling because they, you know, wanted to work out, you know, they bought a gym membership, or they thought they were going to exercise and it didn't happen. And now they feel really bad about it. Or they were going to eat some healthy foods and proteins and fats and all of that, and it didn't happen and they feel bad about it. And, you know, that it's normal to feel a little bit bad, but when it turns into shame, when it turns into a regular thing that you're just beating yourself up, it's very damaging. And so we want to release that. And the most powerful way to do that is through self-compassion. Okay. And I know this personally because I've gone, everything that I'm saying, I've gone through as well, you know, and when I worked on, you know, I got a health coach myself and it changed my life in the most amazing way. It helped me to drop my shame, and it just helped me to show up in a more resilient way so that, you know, when I made mistakes, I was able to just still keep, you know, get back on that horse and just try again. And I also, you know, I was a full-time teacher, a parent, a caregiver. I was overwhelmed, a business owner. I had way too much going on. And so many of us can relate to that, having way too much on our plates. It's a common thing for women to overdo because we want to serve so many people. And so really just working on this, you know, dropping the shame, being able to prioritize yourself are things that are going to help give you the confidence to keep moving through. And so a couple of recommendations that I would make about like how to shift your mindset, which is not easy, by the way. It's simple, but again, I got a lot of help with this. So just keep that in mind. But it is possible. The first thing is to recognize that, you know, no matter how long it's been for you, no matter how long you might have been in a pattern of, you know, saying you're going to exercise and kind of being up and down, you know, no matter how long you've been like yo-yo dieting, no matter how long, whatever it is, fill in the blanks, right? You are capable of changing your mindset. You are capable of making change. That's the first thing. You are capable of making transformation, okay? I went most of my life beating myself up, and if I can change, we all can, okay? Also, the second thing is to really just be your own best friend right now, okay? Now, most of us have been raised to be self-critical, and, you know, that's part of our culture, and it's okay. You know, we don't want to, again, beat ourselves up for how we grew up, but we just need to know that scientifically, we now know that learning is not the best way for learning to happen, is not the way that we were taught before. It doesn't happen in that shame and that beating yourself up cycle. A lot of what we've learned before doesn't really lend itself to good mental health, okay? And so what you want to do is you want to start to be your own best friend, Okay. Start to, being loving and complimentary of yourself. And if you really struggle with this, because I struggled with this, I didn't even know where to begin. Talk to yourself the way that you would talk to someone that you love. Okay. So if someone that you love came to you and made a mistake, you would be very kind to them and gracious, probably more gracious than you are to yourself. And so learning how to, just finding the language that you would say to someone else and also giving that to yourself. Okay. Also prioritizing yourself unapologetically. This is huge. I know so many people say they don't have time. And before I had kids, I thought I didn't have time either. Magically, I've learned that I had way more time than I thought I did. So making time for yourself and not negotiating on it. This is so critical. If you don't make time for self-care, if you don't make time for the things that you love and that light you up, you won't want to keep going. Okay. You will not, you will start to be ineffective with work. You will start to be ineffective with your business and with your family, with the loved ones and all those things that matter to you. Okay. Even if you have to wake up a little bit earlier, like I do, because I have little kids, I got to wake up a little earlier. And then also the self-forgiveness and acceptance when you make mistakes, okay? This helps to build resiliency. This is a hard one to do, and this is one that I actively help clients with because it's a lot. It's one that we need a lot of coaching through, but this is something that you can work on. You can journal about the ways that you forgive yourself, and I actually have a journal resource that I'm happy that I'm sharing with all of you guys. It gives you the resilience to be able to bounce back. And then finally, recognizing that all you do and how amazing you truly are. You really are miraculous. I know it sounds corny to say this, but it is true. You impact people, whether it's through your business, whether it's through your daily life, whether it's, family members and loved ones, you impact people on a daily basis. But we don't always take stock of all of the amazing things that we do. One of the first things that I do with my clients in every session is we spend time where they write down all of their wins. And in the first couple of weeks, they're lost. They're like, oh, what win? But by the end of it, they have like 15, 20, You do so many more things, even if it's just that you responded to an email, even if it's just that you got out of bed, okay? Write down every single win. There you go, I saw Ellen cheering. Okay. Oh, and then gratitude is the other thing too. So recognizing all that you really are, that you have genuinely in front of you. So again, I lost hours as well, but I recognize that there's a lot to be grateful for. And I have, in the link that Carla is sharing with everyone, I have some resources, some journaling resources that I use myself to work through like these tough times, and a whole bunch of Corona specific resources that you can use during this time as well.
Great. Thank you so much. Okay, so we have a few more questions. Ellen, I would like to go to you. And we hear a lot about what foods we should be eating and whatnot, but what are the foods that we really shouldn't be eating that are really undermining everything that's going on right now?
Like my favorite topic. Thanks. Okay, so I think one of the things that we have to be really careful around is maybe some of the language that we use when we think about foods. I don't like to talk about good foods and bad foods, and I don't like to think too much about what I should be eating or I shouldn't be eating. I love using language like I don't eat that, not I can't eat that, because that makes that a much more active choice, and it's something that I'm actively choosing to do what's best for myself. So I like to think about the foods that we should be minimizing and maybe making better choices instead of, as opposed to thinking about foods as bad. But having said that, the foods that, again, coming at this from a standpoint of what's hurting our immune response, sugar suppresses your immune system, highly inflammatory. There's just kind of no way around that. And along with sugar, I sort of put refined white powdery foods in the same category, flours and things like that. Gluten and dairy, and Tracy's saying it helped her with giving up gluten, saying that she doesn't eat it. That's awesome, Tracy. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. So gluten, this is a hard one because you hear so much out there about, the scam of gluten-free. But the reality is that gluten is inflammatory to the digestive tract of every human on the planet, even if you have no allergy or formal sensitivity to it. So you can eat gluten and be like, I feel fine when I eat gluten. And yes, you might, but it's still inflammatory to the digestive tract. Your digestive tract is home to 80% of your immune system. So causing a lot of inflammation and imbalances in your digestive tract is really not a great choice now or anytime. Dairy is inflammatory for many people as well. So I think, really choosing to move away from those is a good choice. Again, the processed and refined foods. These are things that have no nutrients. They're hard on your digestive tract. Inflammatory vegetable oils like soybean oil and canola oil. Again, hidden sugars, preservatives, shelf stabilizers, emulsifiers, colors. And let me just say, we're talking about little kids here. If you have kids, this is your opportunity. Get them off the colors, because what they do to the brain and the level of behavioral disturbance that we see from these things, it's massive, the inflammation they cause in the brain. And then again, I just have to come back to alcohol. It breeds anxiety, it exacerbates your stress, it depletes your system the next morning. One thing I just wanted to point out, there have been studies that show that a single high-fat processed meal, so like maybe a burger and fries and a milkshake from a fast food type of restaurant, lead to increases in your inflammatory cytokines, so the bad side of your immune system, about 100% above baseline within 6 hours of eating that meal. So it really isn't like, oh, it's just this once. You have to think about the downstream cascade of effects that happen systemically and how long it takes your body to come back from that. There are other studies that show that after eating gluten, it can take 6 months for the inflammation in your intestines to subside. 1 dose of gluten. So those are my things I feel like we should choose to move away from.
Thank you so much. Hate hearing it, but need to hear it. Okay, Deb, I'd like to move on to you. I wake up with a sense the day will be productive, and then I find a lack of interest in almost everything. Any tips on staying motivated?
Yeah, one thing too, just to talk about one thing that Ellen just mentioned was that, and bravo, thank you for bringing up gluten. Now, I happen to be celiac, so it's a little different for me. But one of the other things too that people, I think it's good to know now, is that most of the products like that can have glyphosate in it. It's really hard to get away from glyphosate, because it is water soluble. So we're getting it from a multitude of things, not just gluten products, but a lot of the things that, because of gluten in particular, we know for a fact that it is sprayed with these weed killers. And that could be another very huge underlying factor why people have inflammation and digestive issues, along with a multitude of other things that happens to our gut because of the glyphosate. So just a little extra thing to note with that as well. And so kind of one thing in particular is understanding what stress is, right? In our DNA, we were set up for survival. Bottom line, that's just basically it. So, but we weren't set up for this chronic underlying stress of each day, and that can lead to burnout. And it makes it really hard to make rational, good decisions sometimes when we're just fried and fatigued. And this is a really unprecedented time. I don't need to reiterate that with any of you, I'm certain. And so kind of being able to perceive what's happening in a different light if we can, right? Instead of feeling like we're being, so much is bearing on us, which it is. I'm not going to make a light of any situation. Everyone has so many different feelings and concerns right now. But if we can work with our stress and the environment that we're in, and know that it's a way that it's going to be, like really acknowledging this is the way it's going to be for a while. I know that. So how can I take that in and perceive it and a little bit better? What's really going on? And sometimes it's really as simple as taking a step back. When something like all of a sudden really aggravates you and we feel like we have to have this need to respond, right? Sometimes simply taking a step back just for a moment and literally saying stop. And that stop gives us an opportunity to, number one, listen to something What else can you hear? It's a way of being mindful in that very moment. So stop. What sounds do I hear? Oh, I hear somebody mowing the lawn. Just touch yourself for a second. Like, give yourself just a moment to kind of be kind to yourself. And this happens in seconds. Oh, observe, hear, listen. Just take a second to know what's really going on. Okay, I'm okay. I don't need to, it's just the kid just spilled their milk, whatever it is, right? And pause. That's what it is. So STOP. Take a moment to hear something, to touch yourself somewhere, to observe what's going on around you, and pause. Take a breath in and know that everything at that moment is okay. And then you can kind of have an understanding of what's really happening in that moment. And you can move forward with a little bit more positivity. And hopefully your stress level won't stay up there. I hope that makes sense in the scheme of kind of the answer of, I get that you are concerned about everything that's going on. And so sometimes just having that stop tool can at least give you a moment of breathing room. That's it.
Thank you so much. So we have about 9 minutes left. So as we go through the rest of the questions, we want to keep them as concise as possible. So Ayana, can you give us some tools that you have that will help with anxiety and negative attitude?
Sure, absolutely. Again, my favorite topic. And thank you for that stop. I got to stop for a moment while you were doing that, so thank you. The first thing that I would recommend is giving yourself some purpose during this time. So, our businesses can keep us busy for sure, but, maybe whatever goal that you've been putting off, and making it into a bite-sized, manageable amount that you can handle. So maybe just one small goal for yourself, either like, an exercise goal, or, I will walk 3 days a week. I will find a YouTube video and that I like, a yoga, whatever it is, and exercise three times a week. I will, just something that you can pick and something that seems simple, like a nice, so nothing too over the top, so it doesn't feel so overwhelming and then you just don't want to do it. A nice gentle stretch goal for yourself, because giving yourself purpose can give you something to focus on and also something to kind of distract you from all the chaos right now and keep you focused on the positive. I also mentioned the journal prompts that I love, and again, that link will have access to them. The journal prompts that I use with clients are about like self-forgiveness, the things that you're proud of yourself for, and your gratitude list. So you can do that, or you can just write a simple gratitude list. These are great things that you can do. Therapy or coaching, again, talking to someone, because the benefit of a therapist or a coach is that they can help you see outside of yourself. Sometimes, they can help you recognize patterns that you may not realize are going on with you. And so, I also I give free complimentary sessions as well. So if you're interested in that, you can definitely give you the information at the end of this about how to get a hold of me for that. You can call, there are different mental health hotlines. If you don't have access to a therapist, if you're not really sure about it, you can call any of these 24/7 numbers. You can just Google them and you can call them any time of day. The other thing is doing fun and enjoyable activities. Getting into bad TV is great. Getting into a bad Netflix show, Tiger King, whatever it is. Something else that can also distract you, books, things that you put off, comedic podcasts, things that are inspirational and funny, and structuring and organizing your day, as I think was mentioned before. So that way you kind of have a consistent routine, you know what to expect. You've thought through everything that you need to do, and turning off the news from time to time.
Thank you so much. This next one, I kind of like to get all of the panelists' takes on this one because I think it's a big one for a lot of people. And if every panelist can give me like one concise little tip, Anxiety is a big struggle for a lot of people, and what tips do you have for dealing with anxiety? So we've touched on this a little bit here and there, but Ellen, let's start with you.
Yeah, I'm gonna bring it back to what I probably spend most of my time working on with clients, which is the health of the gut. The balance of the beneficial bacteria in your gut, what's known as the gut microbiome, is being shown to be probably the key linchpin in mood disorders and anxiety. And I find all the time that when I work with clients on healing their gut and balancing their gut microbiome, we have lots of success in improving anxiety and mood disorders. So that comes back to what do you eat? Things like fermented foods and lots of vegetables and whole grains and legumes. And if need be, doing the deeper work with someone like me to figure out what's going on in your gut and how do we rebalance it can make an enormous difference in anxiety.
Agreed. Jenny, what would your tip be?
Well, I'll go with a little more doctory perspective. I know, being that this is an unprecedented time, I 100% agree with Ellen that that is the long-term solution. You need to do that. If, however, you need a Band-Aid during this time, I'd like to talk about a couple Band-Aid solutions as you are working towards the long-term goal of gut, which should be your first priority. I would talk about some adrenal support. Some of the ways to do a self-check on where your stress hormone cortisol is at is, do I go to sleep okay? If the answer is yes to that, okay, do I stay asleep at the whole night? If the answer is no, do I wake up around 3 a.m. plus or minus an hour or two? These are classic signs that your stress hormone is a little higher than it should be. This is a time where we can use some really nourishing herbs. I love ashwagandha, eulithro, some valerian, some lemon balm. And a lot of times these will occur in combination products called adrenal support. They may even have some glandulars to help support your adrenal glands so that your body can then take over once the crisis has passed. So if you need help with those, both Ellen and I can help with getting you an adrenal support, which will Band-Aid you, make you feel sane until your gut can catch up.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Deb, what have you got for us?
I love that, Jenny and Ellen, just because same thing. I put some of those adaptogenic herbs, which is what Jenny was talking about. They come in tea form, a lot of them, and they are really helpful. I will touch on something a little different. Same thing, this time, as unprecedented as it is, one of the two things I really would like to focus on is breathing exercises. We forget to breathe, right? Which impacts the gut as well and the brain, right? They're all connected. That we hold everything in really short here and we stop, we forget to breathe. So some deep breathing exercises, really simple, and it gives you just 2 minutes to once again take that pause, inhale through your nose. A form called box breathing is an example. Inhale through your nose for 4 to 5 seconds, pause and hold it for 4 seconds, and exhale slowly for like 7 to 8 seconds out your mouth. Will really decrease your anxiety level pretty instantaneously.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Welcome.
And Anna, one quick more tip.
Sure. So all of the tips that I mentioned before, by the way, are in that link. You can have access to those if you want those sanity during Corona tips. And I just want to echo again the deep breathing and everything that's been said before. That's right on. The other thing I would just say too is just recognizing that the cortisol levels, the hormones, they also impact if you're trying to lose weight, if you're trying to get healthier. It does impact your ability to lose weight in a deep way. So a lot of people sabotage themselves in this way. So working on your anxiety and relaxing also helps you with your health goals. So keep that in mind if that's your vision. Just the only thing I would add to this is just being honest with yourself about support if you need it. We are such warriors, strong women. I know that everyone here is powerful and amazing, and we all need help though. And there's no shame in that. Getting help with my business and with health coaching is what got me to where I am today, and I'll continue to get more help going forward. And so I hope that you all feel empowered to get help in whatever capacity works best for you.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to say thank you to all of our panelists. Let's give them all a little silent applause. And I'm going to share my screen here so that you can see their information. We would love for you to check out all their stuff. Can you see the slide? Okay, great. So that's their information. We'll be sending this out with the video and the extra information that our panelists have for you. So I hope you have a really wonderful day. Everybody take a moment to breathe. And yes, and it is the start of another week. Have a great day, everybody. Thank you so much. Take care.